And we're back. My name's Laura.
Well, were you in a commercial or something? Were you having a commercial break?
Well, no, but it's been a few days since they've seen a video.
Oh,
Yes,
I see.
so we're back. New video topic.
I see.
Yes. We have had individuals requesting help because of, as what's termed, supernatural phenomenon taking place in their homes. And we have an interview with a testimonial interview with a lady whose home we had done some work on. And I won't say me as in part of the we, but my husband and his spiritual team.
You should include yourself.
Oh.
You do the work too.
I don't do the spiritual work side.
Doesn't matter.
Okay,
we're
fine.
talking about work
So
and total
work was
work.
done to help rid this home of all kinds of different entities and energies. And the questions that have come up since then are basically, are places that I walk past or places that I live near affecting me and my home? Why did that come up? Because a woman recently sent a message saying, I live in a church that a house that used to be a church. It's now an apartment building, so my part is like a little house. Yes, and it used to be a church.
But it got turned into an apartment building?
Yes, and it's right across the street from a cemetery. Could that be why there's so much stuff taking place in my home? And then we have had individuals in the past who have let us know that their home had challenges and they lived right next to a cemetery or a few blocks away from a cemetery. We've had individuals who would be sending us messages, I was feeling great, feeling fine, then by the time I got home, I was feeling horrible. And it turned out that they passed a clinical on their way home and some spirits attached to them. So this is our topic, to discuss that these things can and do affect us, and they can and do affect our home. But now, honey, is it something that can be taken care of?
You just answered the whole video. We could just end it. You've done this the last few videos.
I don't know.
It's like, you answer the question. I don't know what you expect me to do. What do you want me to say? The same thing you just said?
I don't know. Any more insight?
No. It's obvious that it affects their home and it affects them. So what else is there to say?
I know.
Nothing. We're done.
Yes.
Find us on Facebook and whatever else you look at. So
Are we going to redo this video?
No. This is good.
All right, so is there anything else that we should discuss in relation to this topic?
Well, I feel that you should go into details first of all. You're just on a roll. That's the first thing. For example.
What kind of details?
Well, here's an individual who lives in a place that was a church.
It used to be a church, converted into homes.
That must have been a big building for a church. Wow, that's amazing. That's must be a pretty place too. Anyway, but then it was a church.
Yes.
What normally happens in a church?
Oh, a lot of things.
No.
Weddings, funerals,
Forget
baptisms.
about the weddings or baptisms, because that's good energy, you would think. So I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
I'm talking about the things that could influence.
Funerals.
Exactly, right? Why?
Well, because you have a lot of the body of the deceased individual.
Correct.
And their soul might just want to stay at the church.
Got it? So funerals. Mm-hmm. Now, if it were a church before, how many funerals took place there? Mm-hmm. All right. And what is a possibility that many of these souls decided to stay in the church because they felt that it was a safe haven, because they were unsure about what would happen if they crossed over to the other side?
I think that's a very high possibility.
So that's what I mean by the details.
Got it.
Right? So the person's wondering, well, could this be why things are happening in my current residence? It's a high possibility. Now, if I got this right, you said that the individual also mentioned that they lived across from a cemetery.
Yes.
Okay then.
It's a double whammy for that one.
So you talk about that part.
Well, of course, a cemetery, there are all kinds of souls in a cemetery. You know, lost ones, ones that are angry and wanting to get, you know, I don't even know what they want, but just all kinds of souls and entities can be in a cemetery.
Now, how does that affect them then?
Well, because if you're right across the street from it, they can wander. You know, they'll wander where they feel comfortable, and they'll try to go after people, you know, because they want to still live. They still think they're living, so they're going to try to go after you to attach to you and live life through you or influence you in some way.
Well, you make it sound scary. I don't think they go after the people. You know, it's not like they're going. You could be a movie director.
Yes, I could.
You know? I don't think that, okay, let's go after. It's more like, okay, they want to continue living their lives, and they see this individual as a way to attach to them so they can continue living their life. But they don't see it as something harmful. It's not like they're trying to do harm to the individual.
No, they're not trying to do harm.
Well, the way you said it sounds
Well,
like that.
I apologize if I made it sound like they're trying to harm you in any way.
Because that's the way the movie people put it, right? As if
Yes, they do.
these spirits are there trying to harm people. That's not what they're doing. They're just trying to live their life the way they remembered it through this individual.
Right.
And then by doing that, of course, they're causing harm to the individual. But these souls they don't see it that way because they're enjoying their life.
Right.
So I hope that explains to this individual or individuals that have lived in a place. I don't have too many people that live in a place that used to be a church and is now an apartment building. But if there are a few of you out there, I hope that explains that to you. But if you live across from a cemetery, then I hope the other part explains to you why things could be happening in your place.
Now, another one, a good one that we just realized, I don't know if it was yesterday or today, but someone who we have helped, they actually live like just feet, maybe a few hundred feet away from a church, and then across the street and down the block a little bit is a hospital. And they were having challenges in their home.
Okay.
Now, that's because the church, of course, we already talked about churches, but then the hospital, people die in hospitals all the time. There are probably a lot of lost souls hanging around the hospitals and then wandering off. So that would cause activity in someone's house that way.
If they wind up going there, yes.
Right.
Or how else could the souls get there? To their house, to the person's house.
And they follow someone.
If the person passes by the hospital, a soul can attach to them from there, because remember, the soul looks for someone at the same frequency and then attaches to that individual and then goes with them. And so if this person passes the hospital, the soul attaches and takes the soul home. And then all of a sudden they're wondering, what's going on around here? You know, person is angry, the spouse is angry, everybody's screaming at each other, and they're wondering what's going on.
Unsettling things.
And that'll be because this soul likes to argue. See, I want people to get the right impression. Just because a soul attaches to you doesn't mean that you'll get angry.
Right.
But that's not how it works. When a soul attaches to you, you could take on the disposition of that soul. So for example, if the soul is a loving creature, like a loving individual, likes to be hugged and kissed and cuddled, all of a sudden, if you are not like that, you get home and your spouse says, what's wrong with you? Why do you want to keep hugging and kissing me all of a sudden? It's because you have an attachment. You don't know why. You just figure, oh, I want to hug my spouse. Like, get away from me, right? Things like that. Do you have attachments on a daily basis, son?
Oh, cut it out. I do that
every day. Now that I think about it.
See, I'm the one with the loving nature.
Loving attachment. I don't know.
You clear me all the time. It's not an attachment.
So anyway, but it could be that way as well. Or it could be, let's say, a teacher. And then this soul that's a teacher that loves teaching attaches to this individual. They get home or they go somewhere else and they want to start explaining things to people. People don't even want to hear it, but they want to keep explaining. And so now they're getting on these other people's nerves. They're getting mad at them because they're giving them unnecessary information. And they're wondering why people are mad at them. Well, because of this attachment. Because their behavior is different all of a sudden. This is what attachments do. All right? They're just placing their behavior on the individual. That's why you call them influencers, which is a pretty good term. And that's just by passing the hospital.
Yes, but you could have many different places that you could pass by and be fine.
Well, you could also be an individual that still passes the hospital and nothing affects you.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You could pass by the hospitals, the cemeteries, and you'd be fine. Nothing affects you because your frequency is higher than theirs. And
oh, that's what I said. See, that was so incomplete. I wasn't sure what you were saying.
My thought was complete in my head.
Okay, so you're saying because your frequency is high, or your frequency doesn't match any of those entities that are around trying to get attached to somebody.
Right.
So don't think it's because you're better than the other person. It's just that your frequency is not a match.
Right.
All right, to any of the frequencies of these entities that are floating around there. So absolutely, because somebody might ask, well, how comes my brother and I were walking there and all of a sudden my brother's acting weird and I'm fine? Well, first of all, how do we know you're fine? You're the one acting fine, right?
Indeed.
But if you happen to be fine and your brother's acting strangely, it's because no entity had the same frequency as yours. So they couldn't attach to you. Plain and simple.
We had one when our youngest daughter, our 7th child, was born and we brought her home from the hospital. It was at night and our other child at the time, who was 2 years old, our other daughter, started fussing in her crib. And I thought, oh, she probably wants something to drink. So I went over to give her something to drink and she didn't want anything to drink. And I just soothed her a bit and she went back to sleep. And I laid down in bed and I just turned onto my side to look at her in her crib. And as soon as I opened my eyes, I saw this silhouette of a little girl, maybe about 6 years old, with these bright blue, piercing blue eyes just looking right at me. I grabbed my husband and I screamed a little bit because I'd never seen anything like that. And he didn't wake up right away. I just immediately thought, call Shiva. So I did. I just said, Shiva, Shiva, Shiva. And the little girl was gone. So my husband, I shook him again and he finally woke up and I told him what happened. He said, okay. And he focused a little bit. He said, yeah, she followed the baby home from the hospital, but she's gone now. You did good in calling Shiva. Go back to bed. Okay, great, yay! And that's how it went for us.
I don't even recall that. Okay. Was I the husband you were talking about?
Yes, you're my only husband.
I just want to make sure. Maybe a different dimension, you know? So anyway, but then we also had an individual that had a headache almost every day when she came home from work.
Right.
Remember that? And that went out for a while. And then I kept asking her, are you sure you're not passing a place? What place could you be passing? Because I checked and I was told that she was passing a place, right? That was causing it, that she was picking up entities from a place. I don't recall the exact term that I used, and I'm not being shown right now. But she said, I'm very sure I would know if I passed a place like that. Abortion.
An abortion clinic.
Right. That right. I say, there's an abortion clinic. There's a place, an abortion place you're passing, and she's like, no, I'm not. No, and that went on for I don't know how long. You'd probably remember about how long it took.
I think it was about a month.
About a month.
Yes.
It took that long.
Every day she'd call us. I just got home from work and I got a headache.
Right. And I kept asking her the same question. And then finally, after a month. Go ahead.
She figured out she was passing an actual abortion clinic. It was just labeled as some kind of something clinic.
No, it was Planet.
Oh, Planned Parenthood.
What's it called?
Planned Parenthood.
Oh, okay. Now
so it wasn't a clinic, but it was named Planned Parenthood. And she finally put 2 and 2 together and said, oh my gosh, that is an abortion clinic. So she changed her route home so she wouldn't walk past it.
And then
she was fine.
Right. But every time she walked by that clinic, an aborted soul would attach to her and give her a headache. Every day that happened, you know, for the longest time, and it took her a while to figure it out.
Right.
So that's another example of where, you know, you might think something is normal. You know, you might be going home, when you get home, you're so exhausted, you're saying, oh, I had a long day at work. Feel that way? It's not a long day at work.
There might be something else going
exactly,
on.
Exactly.
Send us a message. We'll check you.
Yep. And the moment, even before you get the message that you've been cleared, all of a sudden you're like, wow, I feel energetic. All of a sudden, you know, that's how it goes. What other examples are there? What was this about? Oh, where you live, right?
Where you
Places where you
live,
live,
or
right.
places that you pass by, how they could affect you.
Right. And then, of course, and I know we've done a video about this. If where you live, you have a lot of cell phone towers, right? They emit electromagnetic frequencies. And if your home is near there, of course it affects you as well. You could have headaches, I mean, you could have different health conditions. And that also lowers your frequency for you to get attachments.
Right.
So people might not think about that, but that's also one of them. Even your house, depending on how much electricity is coming through there, or if you have those power lines near your house. You could talk more about that. You pay more attention to that than I do. While we're driving, like, do you see that power line? I'm like, I don't really care. I can neutralize those sucker. But you're like, look at how many power lines there are.
Right
look
over
at those
their
cell
houses.
towers. Exactly.
Look at all those generator boxes, whatever those are called. Yes, but those all carry a lot of frequency through them, and it can affect you. Actually, I was thinking of when you were saying that, another thought popped into my head of a place that we've helped. We helped a church. We actually helped clear a church, and realized that the church kept getting souls in it because it's right across the street from a funeral home.
Funeral home. Yeah. Another one is a funeral home. That's right.
Yes, so if you're near a funeral home, well, yes, that would explain a lot.
Yeah, we finally had to put like a protection around the church from the funeral home, which is literally across the street. They were just walking from
like
from the funeral
25
home.
feet. Boom, you're there.
Just the width of the street. That's it. Yeah, so that was a good one there too.
That was.
And then how about the one, you could also have places that are cursed. Like the land itself is cursed, or the building is cursed.
Right.
I remember we had the one doctor who was about to shut his business down because he was just having a terrible time there.
A lot of bad things were happening.
Right? And his business was not working out right. I mean, he just...
Yep.
Well, you could tell that story, 'cause I don't really know the full details. I just know that he was about to get rid of it.
Right, he was ready to clean his hands of it, as the saying goes, because they were having challenges with the insurance, the electrical stuff in the building, and they had the building built apparently, if I remember correctly.
Right, they bought the land and built the building.
Right, supplies would go missing, and this is a doctor's clinic office, and so we were asked to do some work. I found out that there were curses on the land, demons on the land, and within the building, there were poltergeists and all kinds of things. And shortly after the work was done, within a few months, all of a sudden, things improved. The doctor actually got a contract with a local hospital, and the business is just flourishing.
Yeah. But for the longest time, it was going under.
And they wondered what the problem was. They tried so many different things to make the business work and move, and it was just struggle after struggle.
And the doctor, I mean, he's a good doctor. It was just these things that was affecting the building and him. They couldn't even get proper patients and things like that, which is amazing. Where do you hear a doctor not have patients, right?
Yep.
But the moment things were cleared, bang, things improved dramatically.
Big turnaround.
So that's why if you see things that are just inexplicable, they just don't seem to make sense, it's time to do some checks. Now, there are also situations that I've seen where we can go in and do work, but then the individual that requested the work does the opposite, is that they invite the things back, and then we don't get anywhere. So I've seen that happen as well. It's like I talked about on one video, the ping pong game or tennis, where
They're just back and
exactly
forth, back and forth.
We do work and then it gets sent back to us, and then we do it again, it gets sent back to us. So when the work is done, you should accept the work, know it's done, and it's not time to doubt or try to bring things back by wishing. I don't know, I don't even know how you bring
Or
it back.
spending time on it, still thinking about what happened before and the things that took place before. If you keep focusing on what used to be there, you'll draw it back again because you're lowering your frequency to that level again.
Right.
So keep it away, move on.
Okay. And then the last one is geopathic stress. You know, we have like things under the house, right? Mm-hmm. Underground streams, things that can affect you from underneath the house.
Right.
That can give you, it lowers your frequency because a lot of people end up getting cancer from things like that. Mm-hmm. Or just
other illnesses.
Yeah, really bad illnesses or diseases. Mm-hmm. Again, those can be neutralized, they can be cleared, not cleared, but neutralized for the most part. Mm-hmm. To help the person get back on track. And normally when those are there, that they also invite entities into the house, negative
right.
entities into the house, and then those have to be cleared as well. Mm-hmm. So where you live, where you build your house, it's many cultures actually have experts that go out and check, or they don't have to go, but they check to see if there are any curses on the land before someone even buys it or buys the house. A lot of people actually do that. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good idea, just to make sure that if there's anything there, they can be cleared. See if you can clear it first before you buy it.
Right.
Otherwise, don't buy the sucker, just leave it alone. But we're talking about where you go, like church, mm-hmm. hospitals, clinics.
Places you might walk past.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cemeteries, mm-hmm. funeral homes, right? Those are big ones. I'm sure there are other ones, but those are the ones that come to mind right now.
Right. So if you live around any of those type of places, that like within a close vicinity, like within a quarter of a mile, I'll say, more than likely, if you're experiencing stuff in your house, it's from those places. And there's work that can be done to help with that.
Right. Okay.
All right. I think that covers the topic. Thank you for sharing your insight with us, honey. You can find us at 190vision.com, 190vision on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.